Today on Sugar Spun Run, we'll be making peppermint bark cookies. Hey Sugar Spun bakers, Sam here, and today I am so excited to be sharing another carefully tested, well-researched, and perfected recipe. These cookies are perfect for Christmas time with just the right hint of peppermint flavor. I think you're going to love them, so let's go ahead and get started by preheating our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So for today's recipe, we're going to start with a large microwave-safe bowl, and in this we're going to combine 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips with half a cup or 1 stick of unsalted butter. Now we're going to be heating these in the microwave, melting everything together. So just to help the butter melt nice and evenly, I'm going to cut it into about tablespoon-sized pieces. Now anytime you're melting chocolate, you want to do it nice and slowly. So we're going to heat this for 30 seconds, stir it really well, and then continue to heat in 20-second intervals until the chocolate and butter are completely melted and the mixture is nice and smooth. It's important to remember that if you heat the chocolate too quickly, you could end up seizing it and end up with a gritty, grainy, oily mess, which you would have to toss out and you'd have to start over. Now before we add our sugar to this, we want to make sure it cools down so it's no longer warm to the touch. If this mixture is too warm, it's going to end up melting our sugar and then we're going to have greasy cookies that spread all over our baking sheet. So while our chocolate and butter mixture is cooling down, let's go ahead and whisk together our dry ingredients. We'll need 1 2/3 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons of natural cocoa powder, a teaspoon of cornstarch, and then half a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and half a teaspoon of salt. We'll whisk everything together and then we will set this aside and we'll go back to our chocolate mixture, which we're going to check, but it should be cooled down by now. So if the bottom of the bowl does not feel warm to the touch, you're usually good to proceed. The next thing that you need is 3/4 cup of firmly packed light brown sugar, a half cup of granulated sugar, and then for our eggs, which I'm just going to go ahead and crack in this bowl here, you need 2 large eggs as well as 1 additional egg yolk. We'll lightly beat these 2 eggs first, and doing this is just going to help them incorporate into the batter a little bit easier. And don't forget about the egg yolk. Now for the egg yolk, I'm just going to separate that right here, drop the white out. We'll add this in, oops. Crack that shell. Now that's why you're supposed to always crack the egg in a separate bowl. And that yolk should break up pretty nicely in there. Now we also need our extracts. We are using 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and I am using a very small amount of peppermint extract. This is peppermint extract, not mint extract. I am just using a 1/4 teaspoon. This is going to give the cookies a super subtle mint flavor. If you want a stronger flavor, you can increase this to a half teaspoon instead. And we want to make sure everything is well combined. Make sure you're scraping the sides and bottom of the bowl so that no chocolate is sitting there and not getting mixed into the batter. All right, now let's gradually add our dry ingredients into our wet ingredients. I usually do this in 2 or 3 parts. You don't want to add everything all at once because it can make the dough a little bit too dry and crumbly. We want to slowly incorporate that flour. These cookies always end up so pretty, so nice and crackly, and we're gonna dip them in white chocolate and sprinkle them with peppermint. So they're a really pretty festive cookie and they are great for a cookie exchange. And you can certainly use your electric mixer if you'd like, but clearly I've just brought mine out for show. It is pretty though, so. All right, now for a little bit of extra chocolate, I like to add a cup of mini chocolate chips, and then we can start baking these cookies. Get these nicely worked in. So one thing I love about this recipe is there is no chilling required. So we can go right ahead and start scooping the dough. Scoop it by 1.5 tablespoon sized scoops. And we'll drop the cookies at least 2 inches apart on the baking sheet to keep them from running into each other. Now to make these cookies look a little bit more uniform, I'm going to roll them into balls and gently flatten them. You do not have to do this, it's just gonna make them look a little bit prettier. Kind of a cookie perfectionist, so I like mine to look as pretty as possible. Now we'll take these over to our 350 degree Fahrenheit preheated oven where they'll need to bake for 9 minutes. So once the cookies have baked, we're going to let them cool on the baking sheet for about 5 minutes, and then we will carefully remove them to a cooling rack to cool completely before we dip them in our white chocolate. So once the cookies have cooled, we can prepare our white chocolate and peppermint. This part's super easy and a little bit fun. You're going to need a half cup of crushed candy canes or crushed peppermint candies. I usually just need about 10 of these small candy canes right here. I'm just gonna crush them up with my rolling pin, my Star Wars rolling pin, because of course. Just gonna pour these into a little dish because the peppermint is gonna break the bag and yet you're going to have crumbs all over your counter, but that's fine. Peppermint dust never hurt anybody. Now for the white chocolate, I am going to be using 10 ounces or about like 1 2/3 cups of white chocolate chips. And to help these melt smoothly and dip easily, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. You could use vegetable shortening like Crisco instead. And I'm going to microwave this in 25-second increments, stirring well in between until this is nice and smooth and completely melted. Instead of white chocolate chips, you could use white chocolate melting wafers or just those colored melting wafers instead. They would work fine as well. Now, if you do opt to use coconut oil, it does have a slight coconut taste, so just keep that in mind in case you're serving this to someone who doesn't like coconut. I know Zach would complain. All right, now we can dip our cookies. Now, I like to have a piece of wax paper to transfer mine to after I've dipped them, because if I put them back on the cookie sheet or the cooling rack, they tend to kind of stick a little bit, so this will make it easier to pick them up when I'm done. I'll just take the cookie and just dip it about halfway. Don't worry too much about the back. Wipe a little bit of that off on the edge. Now let me do a couple of these. And then you don't want to wait too long because this chocolate is going to start to solidify, so we will want to add our peppermint on top while it is still wet or warm. And I don't really love it when I have big pieces like that. In fact, I'm going to take that out because that can be a lot to crunch on the cookie, so I like smaller, dustier pieces. I feel that just works better. Now you just need to let the chocolate harden before enjoying. This takes a little bit more time if you use chocolate chips. It happens pretty fast if you're using melting wafers instead. So these cookies have had some time to sit. The white chocolate's nice and firm. My taste tester has joined me for the final taste test. I just wanted to show you guys how these look. That is how easy it is to make these peppermint bar cookies, right, Luke? Super simple. I hope you guys enjoyed today's recipe, and if you try this one out, please leave me a comment and let me know what you think. I always love hearing from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Oh wait, I'll test it.
Okay. What do you think?
Good.
It is good. With a perfect punch of peppermint, perfect hint of peppermint.
A pepper hint.
Let's leave that in. With the perfect pepper hint. That was wonderful. That's baking powder. I don't think you want to eat the baking powder. Are you going to help me or are you going to eat the chocolate?
I will help you. No.
No. Just say, take me as I am, people of YouTube. No more chocolate. Okay, you can't take it if mommy says no.
Why not?
Because that's the rule. Still keep thinking about peppermint.